Hey guys, it's Austin here. I'm actually at uni right now and I'm sitting in this really sketchy area that I'm not really sure I'm allowed to just be chilling in. It's right by a staircase. There's a bunch of people who's been walking past here that I didn't expect to be here, but you do what you gotta do. So, the topic for this week is passing. Passing for me is something that's been sort of an ongoing ordeal, I suppose you could say. I have a couple of things that are rather working against me. I'm not quite 5'3". I'm 36C in bras, and I have a very feminine face. So those three things combined have been a bit of a setback when it comes to trying to pass. I do have binders. Well, actually, they're not really binders. It was me being clever. Because I knew that it was sort of bad to do the bandaging in that sense, because I've read accounts of people who've done that who hurt their ribs, so I didn't really want to do that, especially since I am a little bit bustier. So what I did was I had these bustier things. They were like, what are they called? They're actually for your back. They're supposed to help your posture if you have bigger breasts by pulling your boobs up and your shoulders back. But the way that I did it is, I've just been wearing them backwards, and I'll insert a picture probably right about here. So that's been working out quite well for me. As I said, I'm a 36C, and when I find using this back correcting thing, it actually brings me down to about a low A, but it doesn't really look, they're not like lumps, it's not like boobs, but in a low A, it's like, it's sort of like that bulge that people get when they try to bind without a real binder, or even if they use that kind of thing. So it works pretty well, but not for tight shirts, which is sad because I'm a much more flamboyant and effeminate person, and it's difficult to sort of portray myself that way as FTM at this point, because since I'm not on T, and I haven't had top surgery, it just comes across as being girly. And so then when you say, oh, use male pronouns, and you're acting very girly, people don't take it as seriously. And so I've felt very obligated to act more masculine and to dress more masculine, just to be able to be taken at least even an iota of seriously. So that's been something that's been quite difficult. My boyfriend knows that I've struggled with that. Although I do have kind of a cool passing story. I was with my boyfriend at the mall over break near my house, and we decided to go see a movie. And after the movie, I wanted to go fix my makeup, and so, my foundation, you know? And so I was like, hey, Zosh, can you come with me to the bathroom? The boys' bathroom. And he was like, yeah, okay. So we walk into the boys' bathroom, and I walked right up to the sink and started fixing my foundation, content as can be. And this older man was washing his hands in the sink next to me, and he kept looking at me sideways as I was fixing my face, which I kind of understood, because that was, as I said, given the three things that I mentioned, there's no reason why he shouldn't have given me a double take particularly. But then he decided to be a little bit rude about it, and so instead of just either A, just staring, which is slightly rude but not like unexpected, or just, very politely saying, are you aware that this is the men's room? So he looked at me and he was very, very rudely said, are you aware that this is the men's room? And so I just looked at him and I was like, yeah. And my boyfriend, very heroically, decided to swoop in on my behalf, and so he glares at the guy and he's like, hey, don't talk to my boyfriend like that. And this guy, I could just see his whole life just shifting and changing around him, because he looks at Zasha, he looks at me, he kind of laughs, and he's like, are you serious? And Zasha looks at me and he's glaring at him, and he's like, I'm serious, don't talk to my boyfriend that way, get out of here. And the guy just didn't know what to do. So he just sort of left, and that was quite funny. So that's my best passing / presenting anecdote. The tips that I would say, at least the ones that have been the ones that I've used, are just, I'm trying to be more assertive and just telling people he. Like in my German class, I mentioned this in a previous video, I just corrected the guy and said he. And so I feel like the longer that I'm at uni, the more confident I am to sort of do that. and I definitely feel like in future, if it ever comes up, I'm gonna mention it. But I don't think if it doesn't come up, then it doesn't really matter, because like if I'm in a huge lecture and the professor has like 260 kids to deal with, I don't really care enough about it to specifically go up to them, because they'll probably never ever have to say my name anyway. But in my smaller classes, when we are introducing ourselves, I just, I give the name that I want them to use when we're introducing ourselves before they go through the attendance, and they kind of look at me twice. But I think we're at an age, or at least at my school, the professors are in tune enough to take that at face value and not question it, and I think they realize what that means, and so they just kind of go with it. And by default, since the professor I've never had yet a professor who's corrected me and said, I'm not going to call you that. They don't even ask me if that's my real name or anything. My best piece of advice would just be to say, be assertive and bring it up if you feel like it's necessary, and the odds are, at least in my experience, they might question, like they might give you a look that's questioning, but what are they going to say? Prove it. Prove to me that you're deserving of a man's name. Most of the time it's not going to matter. For the authorities it might, but because that's like something that I'm hopefully not going to have to deal with very often, I don't really feel like I need to go through a name change again, just so the government can put that on my state ID or whatever. So essentially, in closing, I feel that for me, passing is sort of a difficult situation. However, as I said, I'm starting to learn to care less whether other people believe me or not, as long as they'll call me the right thing. That's what's important. And I'll admit that using the boys' bathroom is something that's still not comfortable for me. But that is partially my own problem. So I'll keep you posted on how that whole passing thing is going. And until I see you next week for my fabulous Wednesday slot, take care.